top of the hour. Let's get this thing started. All right, I should be live. I should be live on all the platforms right now. So I've got screens all around me right now running the show. So I see you on Instagram. Let me know where you're coming in from. Make sure that you can hear me, see me, and all of that stuff. Those of you on Facebook, on YouTube, LinkedIn, all of it. Let me know that you can see me. Fort Lauderdale's in the house. All right. Oh, hold on. Cool. Lisa Skolnick, it has been so long. So good to have you here. So welcome to this is the first of the Money Mentoring Over Coffee for 2024. I decided that I wanted to try this out. I'm going to try and do this almost every single week. I've got a crazy first 6 months of the year. You'll hear about it. But what I'm really testing out is whether I want to really do a live, just a regular weekly live show. Literally just like a regular show every week. And I've got some of you in Zoom. I've got some of you all over the place. The private room, just so you understand, you can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Are you guys hearing me on Zoom? Let me make sure. Hold on. No sound. Hang tight. Well, now we can hear. There's this button on here and it says mute. And sometimes you have to push it. Sorry about that. It's not like this is my first rodeo, I should know. But here we go. And let me get this going so we have that. Jessica's in the house. All right. So let me just kind of give you the rundown of what I'm doing, why I'm doing this, and where we go. So I'm testing something out, whether I want to become a weekly live show where I have a chance to answer questions, give content, and everything. We have my show, the Affluent Entrepreneur Show, which we're going to continue to do. But I want to create an environment where we can have a dialogue, where you can, on a weekly basis, have a place to go. And so this concept of money mentoring over coffee, we tested it last year, but I want to test it and see how we do with all of it, with our ability to do a live show. Now, how this would work in going through this is that I have the private Zoom room. So those of you that are in Zoom, it's a private room that y'all register for. Y'all can register for it. You can all. There is no cost to it. You can be part of it and still be there. How do I get these folks in? And still have the opportunity to do the things that we want to do. The difference is this. I'm going to prioritize the people in the Zoom room because I can see their faces and answer their questions directly, and I can bring them on to get more clarity and more clarification with all of it. And so that's where I'm going to prioritize. But now that doesn't mean you can't ask questions, because I have the chats up all over the place, and I can pull up the questions and we can answer the questions to you that way. I also have a hotline, askmelnow.com, where you can leave a question. And so I'm trying to give you avenues to get access to asking questions, and then this becomes the platform that we will release it on, whether we'll go live for I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour. Maybe if we have a bunch of people, it'll be an hour and a half. But I'm going to test it out. We're doing this one on Friday. The next one, I'm trying to do them all on Mondays. So we'll have Money Mondays type of a thing at the same time. So from here on out, not next Monday, but the following Monday, I think the 26th will be the next one. And I'm going to do it weekly, and I've got it scheduled. You can when you register, you can download this to the calendar and join us and have the conversations. That's what this is about. I got nothing to pitch you, nothing to sell you. I got none of that. All right, this is just us having a conversation. So we can rest assured that that's not what this is. You will also be on the journey with me because of my book. So I've got a book that's coming out, but not till June. Oh my God, I will fill y'all in, because the last 7 days of cover design just about almost killed me. I mean, some of the stuff that I saw, oh my God. But we finalized the cover. I will show you shortly once I get it all here. So I'll take you on that journey too, because it's been a journey no less. So that's what this is all about. This is why I'm doing it, and if it goes well, we'll turn around and do we'll end up turning it into a regular live show that we're going to do on a regular basis. So that's the game we're playing. All right. Now, having said that, when I do these, I'll probably bring some things to you that I see going on and have a conversation around them to start, and then open up for questions, or pick up questions that have come in through the hotline or through DMs, and start to answer those questions and do that for a period of time. So that's where we're going. And if you're cool with it, let's get started. All right. So here's the thing. I want to start today with something that I saw that came out from bankrate.com, and start to ask ourselves and understand why something like this might happen. So there's an article, and those of you on Zoom will be able to see it. So those of you on the only ones that won't be able to see this will be on Instagram, but that's okay. I will describe it to you. It's actually not that intriguing, but it's an article from bankrate.com that says, it's their current statistics on living paycheck to paycheck. And we'll talk about why this might happen, what's going on, but the statistics are staggering. The statistics to me are sadly staggering that we have this issue going on. Because if you look down here, and I'm just going to skip through this to the actual report that came out from payments in November of 2022. And in November of 2022, they did an analysis of U.S. adults. 76% of U.S. adults who make less than $50,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. 76%. Now, I get that, and I can see where that happens. 50,000 isn't a lot of money, especially if you're living on the coasts. Okay, it really isn't. So I get that. So I'll give them that, and we can talk about what we can do around that. But let's look at some of the other ones. 66%, 65.9% of those people making 50 to 100,000 are living paycheck to paycheck, and then 47.1%, almost 50%, making more than $100,000, more than six figures, still living paycheck to paycheck. Hold on a second. So we're making six figures and we're still living paycheck to paycheck. The lower ones I can understand, but let's just talk about wealth creation. Let's just talk about financial freedom. Let's just talk about what it takes to make this happen, and hopefully this starts to resonate. It is a simple equation. It doesn't mean that it's easy, but all we're doing is the only thing you can adjust is the money in, the money out, and the money that stays. That's it. It isn't any more complicated than that. So when I hear something like this, the first place to go is to say, where do we have a problem? Is it on the ins? Is it on the outs? Is it on what stays? Or is it a combination of them? Because that's where the problem is. Like it or not, am I making enough? Am I spending it right? Am I investing it right? That's the only questions. Now, in order to do this, the right way, um, we need to get, I think we need to get very not critical of ourselves, but critical of our spending and our earnings. Let's start with the earnings for a moment. I believe that most of us do not value ourselves at the level we should. When we go to negotiate a salary, when we go to negotiate a project, when we go to ask for a fee. And so I think the first place for us to start is ask ourselves, what's my value? How am I valuing myself? What are the skills that I bring? And too often, depending on the kind of things you do, and I don't know, like I see Kern up there and he's got these nice certificates up there. So I don't know if he's a service provider or whatever, but I came from the accounting field. We're notorious for timesheets. We're notorious for swapping hours for dollars. It's the worst business model out there. It's the easiest way to devalue what you do is to turn it into a commodity. But even if we're trading hours for dollars, and you're a coach, you're a therapist, you are some service provider, and you're trading hours for dollars, you gotta look at it and say to ourselves, what do you bring in that hour? You don't bring just an hour. You bring the lifetime of your experience. You bring the lifetime of your knowledge. You bring the lifetime of the shifts and the changes and the solutions you've brought to people. It reminds me of a story. It's not a true story, but they tell the story about how someone was walking down by the river in France, and there's Picasso. He's painting a painting, and the person stops to talk to Picasso, says, "Could you paint me?" Now, I'm not sure that I want Picasso painting me because I've seen some of his paintings. Okay, but the reality is that he paints this person, and it only takes like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And she says, "What do I owe you?" And he says, $3,000. She says, "But it only took you 2 or 3 minutes." And he looks at her and he says, "No, it took me a lifetime." We fail to value the journey that we've been on. We fail to value the knowledge, the skills, and the experience that we've gone through that we bring to everything we do. And so the first place that we have to look at is this conversation with ourselves of, what's my worth? What's my worth from a commercial standpoint? Not to allow the outside world to define our self-worth, but from a commercial standpoint, what's our worth? And to be willing to stand in the conviction of what it takes to be paid what you're worth. Because that's the first place to investigate. Because too often I'll go get another job, or I'll get a side hustle. Hold on a second. Are you getting paid what you're worth? Because even if you went to get a job or get a side hustle and you don't value your worth, you won't ask for what you should get. And so I think the first part of this equation isn't about cutting expenses. It's about valuing who you are and what you bring to the table. Hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this starts to resonate and hits home for some folks, because this is the thing that I think we miss. So that's the first piece of it. And then you look at it and go, okay, if they're not willing to pay me, then maybe I have to figure out a transition plan. If I'm in my own business and I go, well, I'm not getting paid, well, I might be in the growth pattern of where we're at. So I'm not necessarily getting paid at the level that I need to get paid yet. I remember the first time, so I started out doing valuation work. And the first valuation I took on was for $2,000. I mean, it was ridiculously low. Okay. And I don't touch them for anything less than 10 times that now, really. And so, but Intentionally, I took it because I needed the experience. Intentionally, I took it because I needed to do that. So the key then is that if I'm going to accept something less than I'm worth, is it something that is intentional or is it being placed upon me? And so I just want you all to get paid what you're worth, because a lot of you have bring a whole lot of value to the world, to the people you serve, to your jobs, to all of that. And I want to make sure that you get paid to make that happen. All right. So that's the first piece. Is the income side of it? Is that one? Am I getting paid what I'm worth? Also on the income side is that maybe we are in a situation where our degree, our experience isn't where it needs to be for us to get paid at the level we want. Well, then the question is, what's the skill gap? To go learn what certification, and I'll caution you about that in a second, but what education, what skills do I need to bring more value? Because you can spend 20 years at a company, you are not, this may land hard for people, but just because you spend time at a company doesn't entitle you to a raise. Your ability to create more value for the company is what entitles you to the raise. I love it, Melissa. It's true. So your ability to have more value, add more value to the company, is the thing that will allow you to get the raise. That's the thing that most people miss. And so if we come at it from the position and the standpoint of how do I increase my value, then that is the precursor to how do I get paid more? How do you become indispensable? People say, well, people are laying off. There's some concerns and things like that. How do I do this? You have to become indispensable. And the way you become indispensable is become valuable. If you're working for a company, or if you're not working for a company, how do you become invaluable to your clients? That you're not something that is disposable, to put it aside, that is optional. How do you become something that folks will say, I can't go without it? Okay. And so this is important. I'm just going to look at some of the value is intentional or is it placed on you? Good point. Well, this is a great question. Jonathan's asking, is the value intentional or is it placed on you? And I think that's really the key, is that I want to be intentional about the value. I want to engineer it. Then if I have to skill up, then I skill up. When I started to do valuations, no one wanted to hire me. I had no experience. So I'm like going, well, wait a second. Let's do the math here for a second. If you don't hire me because I have no experience, how the heck am I going to get the experience? You got to hire me. Give me some experience. Well, they wouldn't do it. And so what I did, I said, and now mind you, this was me doing consulting work and that type of thing. So I thought, well, the next best thing for them to see me have experience is to go speak, articulate what I can do, answer questions, do some of that, and see if that worked. Well, that worked. Okay. I went out, I started speaking, and they stopped asking what my experience was because the perception was that I had experience because of the way I spoke. So the question is that, can you and how can you skill up and engineer the value you bring to the table so you can get paid more? That's the income. There's many more things we can do on the income side. This is something that I wrote about in my upcoming book, but I wanted to touch on this. Now, let's look at the expense side, because you got two sides of the equation on this: income, expense. And then the expense side, here's the thing that is the most important thing. Everyone, no matter what level of income, no matter what level of wealth, needs what I call a cash. Now, some people will say, oh, you mean you want us to budget, Mel? Well, you can call it a budget, but I don't like a budget because that feels restrictive. A cash resource plan or a budget, whatever you want to call it, is actually your permission to spend. Let me say that again. It's actually your permission to spend. Here's why you need to do this and why it's so important. Because too often we get our paycheck or we make some money. We have not defined what we're going to do with that money in advance. So what do? It's burning a hole in our pocket. So we look at it, and guess what? We're getting pinged on Instagram. We're getting pinged on our email, and they go 25% off. And you go, I just did this. And I left it in the car. I said, what am I doing? I don't need any more shirts. What am I doing? But I was sitting there thinking, well, it's 25% off. So like I can get 25% more of stuff I didn't need. Like, wait a second. So the idea behind it is to keep you on path towards your financial freedom. And the way we do that is we set a plan in place for financial freedom. And that plan informs what we do with every dollar before we ever earn it. Think about this. You have a business. You decide you want to expand the business. You need the business to grow. So what do? You say, I need people. So what am I going to do? I'm going to bring people up. I'm going to hire people. So you put the ads in, you hire 20 people. So you got these 20 new employees. You bring them into the conference room on the first day. They all start the first day. And you look at them and say, here's the deal. None of you have job descriptions. None of you have job titles. In fact, I'm not going to give you goals. I'm not going to give you tasks. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But here's our objective, y'all. Our objective is to double the business in the next 24 months. Let's have at it. How successful are we going to be? We're not. We're not. But that's what we're doing with our money. See, our money as an employee, they are actually better than employees because your dollars will work for you 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. They don't want PTO. They don't want vacation, and they're not going to unionize. They're there to work for you, but they'll only work for you when you tell them what to do. And the way you tell them what to do is by in advance defining their job. So when a dollar comes in, is it to pay the mortgage? Is it to pay rent? Is it to put clothes or food on the table? Is it to take a vacation? Is it to save for a down payment of the house? This is why the cash resource plan becomes important, because you're defining the job for every dollar before it comes in. And you're giving every dollar a job description that moves you down the path to financial freedom. And so too often we don't have that. So it's not to restrict you and say you can't spend. It's actually to allow you to have the peace of mind to spend directly on what you need, directly on what you want, to be specific, to not be taken by temptation. There's a reason I got a $900 coffee maker that I swiped right on freaking Instagram and bought. Didn't need it. Don't tell my wife that. I rationalized it like crazy because I can use an app and I can just make my coffee from sitting at the desk. Like, whatever. I got sold. Look. So I'm not exempt from this, but I just want us to pay attention. So if we are struggling, it's called the Spin Coffee Maker, SPINN. If we are grinds the beans, you can make all kinds of different coffees. Don't get me going on. All right. But if we are living paycheck to paycheck, like this article says, and like you said, 47.1%, even 47.1%, almost 50% of people over and above 100,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. So if that's the case, we have to examine the income side of our equation. We have to examine the expense side of our equation, the inflows, the outflows. Because until we solve that, we can't build the money machine. We can't build the investing because we got nothing left over. And so this is the thing that I think we need to consider. If there's a struggle there, we have to be really critical. That means getting your bank statements out. That means being clear on your vision for what you want, understanding the path to get there, and making decisions that are in alignment with the path you want to go, the destination you want to get to. You can't sit back and say, hey, I think I need to lose 30 pounds as you're eating a Snickers bar. I mean, you can. It's just not going to get you there. They're not in alignment. And so that's where we look at this. And we have a tough time in today's society because we live in a world of comparison. Everyone is parading what we believe to be their life on the internet. But in many cases, it's a facade built on debt. It's built on stilts, and it's going to collapse. We don't know that. Heck, we think that they're all happy and tulips and roses. They might be miserable. So I don't think we can judge from that. But but more importantly, we shouldn't allow it to decide our value, our values, and our choices. That's when we start to lose ourselves. And so, cool. All right. That's what I wanted to start with. I just when I saw this article coming in, I'm going, we need to fix this. And one of the ways to fix it is to be open and have conversations around it. We're in a world where we're not supposed to talk about money. We're not supposed to, it's impolite or we demonize it. Well, here's the thing. If we're having problems with money, the only way to start solving a problem is to raise the awareness to have a conversation. And no problem is going to get solved without having a conversation. So let's have a conversation. Money is just a tool. It's neither bad nor good. Hammer's just a tool, neither bad nor good, but we can use it to do bad or good. Same thing with money. So why suppress it? Why demonize it? Because it is the tool that's going to allow you to control why do we want the money? I mean, we want the money not because we want the money. I don't need the scorecard. I don't need the commas in the bank account to say, hey, Janelle, look at my bank account. Here's what it is. Look, what am I wearing on a t-shirt? No. Why do I want the money? Simple. I want it so I can control the moments in my life. I want it because I want choice. I want to be able to just choose. Do it. I want to be able to choose the causes I get behind, the missions that matter, the movements and all that. I want to choose how I live each day to build the legacy. That's why we need the money. We don't need the money for the sake of the money. We need the money for what it's going to give us. So it's just a tool. It's a stepping stone to get us where we want to go. Oh. Cool. All right. Let me look at some of the questions, and then I'll open up for questions and everything. I didn't have any of this. I just kind of went on a rant here. So, amen on money combos. Jay Rabbit. Let's see. So we have is the value. Okay. Jonathan says, it's been a huge struggle coming from the video world. The value is in many projects is intangible. So I often look at the results as the starting point. There are many starting points of value. Absolutely. Here's, we have to look at the problem we're solving in the customer's eyes to come up to our value versus what we start to do is look at how much time and materials we put in, and that's a cost structure, not a value structure. Okay. Oh, all right. So I'm going to open up if there's any questions, money questions, value, wealth questions, specific like that. I'm ready to hear. I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to help. We can unmute. We can have a conversation. And go from there. If you're on one of the social channels, then just pop it into the chats and I'll bring them up. If you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand and I can pull you up and we can go from there. All right. I see. Let's see. Let me move this so I can see. Denise, I'm gonna bring you up. All right. How are you? Good, good, good. So good to have you here. What's going on?
Well, I was really
Yeah.
kind of at that time trying to figure out what our goals were and how much we should be going our life now. And I realized, going off of what you were just talking about earlier too, how much has helped me with increasing my income and getting more organized around saving what we have this month. So we do that. So we got a lot, I guess, of progress
Yep.
at that time.
So good to
So
hear.
we have our numbers have every month, and so struggle now is what do I do with it? So background, I know that's a big question. I like a lot of the investing I've done in the past is in real estate.
Yep.
So I do have stuff on real estate that is doing well, but I think that I should probably diversify a little bit of that. And I don't live in the US. So one of the things I'm trying to take advantage of right now is that I don't really have taxable in the US right now. So if I do have any income that I earn off investment right now, it's going to be either zero or tax. So then that's going to help me out when I get older, I guess.
Yeah. So let me ask you something real quick. You're looking at where do I invest because you've got things dialed in. Where you said you're not in the US. Where are you?
I'm in Hong Kong.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I remember. All right. So, but you're still a US citizen.
Yes.
You should be taxed on worldwide income though.
You are, but you have threshold.
Yeah, there's a exclusion.
Yeah. And also we have our own business here.
Yep.
So I'm an employee.
Okay. So
my husband from here.
All right. So here's the thing. And I know, is the real estate in the US or is it in Hong Kong?
It's in the US.
Okay. So that income is here.
Yes.
Okay. So I follow something called the wealth priority ladder when we talk about investing or what do we do with our money. And I start people off typically investing in a diversified portfolio in the stock market. And the reason why is that and I love real estate, just so we're clear. I love real estate, but I love it at a certain time in our journey. The risk around the real estate that we have is one, it has a lot of friction to get in and out of. Two, in the sense of sales costs and time and all of that stuff. So it's not as liquid as we would like. Two, let's say I have $50,000 to invest. If I put that $50,000 into a piece of real estate, I get one piece of real estate. If that piece of real estate ends up with a bad tenant in it, I almost said a dead tenant, bad analogy, but a bad tenant in it that decides they're not going to pay, and now I got to go through eviction, and that could take a while, and I still have to pay the payments, this and that, we have a problem. If that piece of real estate goes vacant for a period of time, we have a problem. If that piece of real estate ends up with a repair that was unplanned, we may have a problem. So I have a friend who had a commercial building. They needed to put a new roof on, and they knew it. When they went to put the new roof on, they found that they had structure issues. People had to move out of the place, 6 weeks, $150,000. Okay. So my concern is if we start off with real estate and we end up with a bad buy, we don't have the liquidity to carry the asset. So what I tell people, that's why I start off with a diversified portfolio. We have liquidity in it. We have risk in it. There's no doubt because the markets go up and down. You know, I'm looking at the market now. The markets go up and down. So there is risk in it. So I'm not saying it's riskless, but it's diversified. $50,000 going into a ETF, low cost ETF and index fund. You put it in, and I'm not recommending it, but you put it into VTSAX. You just bought the whole stock market. It's the total stock market fund. It's liquid. Yes, it will go up and down in the short term. In the long term, it's historically grown, but it gives me diversification. It gives me liquidity, and it does give me growth, and it'll give me some dividends because I've got the total stock market in there. Having said that, and I don't know your full situation, I would, if you have a low tax rate here in the US, I might explore investing through a Roth IRA if you qualify, because then let it grow tax-free and take it out tax-free down the road. But that's the umbrella it's under. What I would tell you to start doing is that I would start looking at index funds and ETFs that will give you a diversification and exposure to the market. Now, it doesn't need to be, you can go instead of a total stock market index like VTSAX, you can go to a world index that actually captures not just the US, but it captures and it captures the UK and Australia and some of the other economies there that allow you to do it. So you can capture all of it, but you end up with this diversification that will start to allow you to build. Hopefully that answered the question.
Perfect. Yes.
Awesome. It's good to see you back.
I will be here.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I see Alicia's hand up, and then I'm going to go to the chat. Alicia, I'm going to bring you up.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can. Let me see if I can get you back up here. Well, we'll spotlight you. I'll do it the old-fashioned way. Add spotlight. There we go.
Okay. Hello, I'm pleased to meet you.
Good to meet you. I've seen your name around though.
Yeah. My finances isn't looking too good at the moment, so I'm saying that I'm going to do about it, but here I am now. I just quickly want to find out, really probably very simple, but I think might be good for me to else. But I think I have a lot of pay, and at that stage I don't think I have a lot of income. And I've got the life insurance asset that's in the bundle. It's payment that I make for the company. And it's about 15% of my income at the moment. And it's linked to a pension fund that makes me how should I say? I'm part of a profit sharing account.
Yeah.
I've been buying this for 12 years now, and I've been part of the thing, and so at the moment it's going good, and I'm thinking of, I don't know, I'm not really a person that reads a lot, and
so
I don't know.
Is this US based or not?
South Africa.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know that I know enough about the investment to be able to give you guidance on it. And I don't know most of these investments that wrap investments and insurance together. I don't like them. They don't perform well because But this goes for, you know, and I'm sure if an insurance salesperson hears this, they're going to be pissed at me, but I don't care. This is why I do these. I don't sell investments. I don't sell insurance. I sell you on your dreams. That's what I want to do. Here's the challenge. When you start to wrap insurance and investing in the same product, someone has to make money on it. So they're gouging you with fees. They're gouging you with commissions. It's inefficient, and there's constant fees. Now, the other side of it, and this is the thing you have to examine, is then they lock you in. If they guarantee a return, they say, well, wait a second, you're going to get this return for a period of time. Well, they don't give it for free. That means that they're going to lock you in for a period of time. And if you try to get out before that, they're going to penalize the heck out of you. So if it were me, I would have a real conversation and examination of the contract to understand what happens if you try to exit. What do you lose? Is there penalties? Are there fees? Are there anything that you lose? Because without that, you don't know the cost of canceling, the cost of getting out. Second, you want to look at it and whoever puts you in it, have them sell you on it again. Tell me why this is right for me right now. Tell me why I shouldn't get out of here and do something else. You know, and they might sell you on insurance and say, you got this, but we can buy insurance separate. If I want life insurance, I go get term insurance. I got it. If I want disability, I go get disability insurance. And my investments do better than wrapping in insurance. That's just my opinion. It's also my experience. So I don't know enough about it, but I do know enough to be able to say, look, typically they don't perform as well as if you separate them. But now the question is, do they have you in a straitjacket? And what's the cost to get out? We get the cost to get out, then you can look at it and say, okay, it makes sense. I'm willing to pay the cost. They may say you've been in it long enough, you can get out anytime. And everything. But we need to know what the cost to get out is and what you leave with. And then I might be able to give you a little more guidance, but I don't know enough about it to be able to do that.
Yeah. No, I understand. I just wanted just a little bit of what you
Yeah. You got it. You got it. All right. Let me go to, I see Rosha. I'm going to bring you up. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good, good.
Here, I have two scenarios that I
Yep.
So regarding buying a house, so as you know, I'm in California, and houses that we like in mortgage, if you 20% down, still the mortgage 1,000, and if including tax and interest.
Yeah.
And then, but if you rent the same house, it can be 10K less.
Yeah.
So sometimes I know I appreciate a house and we own our current house, cash flow positive. But starting getting our next house, we choose between either buying or buying a house for a condo that has a higher SOI of 100.
So this is a great question. Do we buy or rent a house? You know, how do we make that determination? So let me just throw a couple things out. Sometimes we make a purchase that is a fulfillment purchase and not a financial purchase. My house that we have here. We sit on the beach. Okay. It's a wonderful house. It's expensive. Okay. It was expensive to buy. From a financial standpoint, absolutely the worst investment we could have made. Okay. Because I've locked up assets that aren't earning me anything other than a place to live unless I choose to sell it or rent it. which might happen down the road. We'll never sell it because it's on the beach. I mean, if the rains keep going, we might, you know, we might be floating. We might have an island property soon, you know. But this purchase was a quality of life purchase. It was about fulfillment, not financially. Okay. Now that doesn't mean you make a dumb purchase. That means that you're within your means. You can get it. You manage it. You do all of those things. But just know that sometimes when we make a purchase, it might be for fulfillment, and we make a conscious choice to do that. And I get that. The challenge, though, is that economically it needs to make sense. The other side of this is that there's nothing wrong with renting. If you're clear on it. But there's this concept, there's this idea, at least the American dream is to own your house. Okay, maybe not. But if we look at home ownership on a financial basis only, with higher rates and higher values, sometimes it doesn't make sense. If I took if it costs you $15,000 to buy a house, but it costs you $10,000 to rent the house, and I take the $5,000 and I invest it, that means I'm investing 60 grand a year. You know what that's going to turn into down the road? And I'm still living in the same house that I would have bought and spent the 15 on. And I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying that I want to loosen the grip on I have to own a house. I have a worksheet. I have a template that is a home versus rent template that I can get to you. If you go on my Instagram and just put home buy on any post, it'll send it to you. And here's the thing that we need to understand. If I'm going to buy a house, it has to be a 7-year or more decision, likely even 10 years or more, to make financial sense, especially with higher interest rates. Okay. Now, interest rates aren't going to stay up forever. They're going to come back down. I don't see that we're going to hit below 3% again. Not for a long time. So don't be waiting for that. Will we be in the 5%? Yeah, probably 4.5 to 5.5, maybe 6%. My first house I bought was 10%. Okay. So even if you bought a house today and it was at 7%, you could refinance in all likelihood if you buy it right. Otherwise, if you don't have enough leeway in the value to loan to value, then you may not be able to refinance. But you can refinance to that lower interest rate down the road. But point being is that, one, it has to be a long-term decision. It's not something you go into short-term. It costs too much to get in and get out of a house to flip it, especially in the markets that you're looking at. Okay. 2, it's really about understanding why you're going into the house. Is this a fulfillment purchase? Is this a lifestyle purchase? Is it a financial purchase? What's the intent? Anytime we make an investment, home included, anytime we make an investment, home included, you want to know your exit before you know your entrance. How do I get out? What's my intent? You know, when we bought this house, I knew that this was a house that we were going to put in trust, because you can't get a property like this very easily in California. Not the way we got it. So it's going to be passed down for generations. I'm hoping that my granddaughter's grandkids look back and say, great grandpa did this for us. Not because I want to do it, but they have the benefit of living in a place or visiting a place that's, to me, is magical, and to be able to give that to them. So So we got to understand what the exit is before we get out, even, no matter what the investment is, because we need to know what that looks like. That defines our entrance. So I see a comment from Melissa. So no flipping if it's bought outright. No, if the exit is intentional to flip it, then we buy it so the flip makes sense. We don't buy it as if it was a residence and then decide, hey, I'm going to flip it, because you probably bought it wrong. So the end will justify the beginning if we do it right. So in your situation, we got to decide, is this a financial purchase? Is it a fulfillment purchase? What does it look like? And then if you look at your monthly costs, you got to look at it as a percentage of your income. Your housing costs should not ever exceed 30% of your income. Housing costs, that means the principal, the interest, the insurance, the real estate taxes, all of that. It's 25 to 30%. I'm giving you some leeway because I know it's an expensive house, but you want it, because you can be house rich and money poor, and that becomes a problem. Now you're choking every day, and now the thing that was supposed to bring you joy is just destroying you, because you go, oh man, like, or there's deferred maintenance and there's repairs. Like we got into this house, and we had some really bad rains a year after we got into it. And I'm sitting upstairs, and there's water coming down the wall. I go, what? We got like a water feature. We didn't know. And so I go, where's this water coming from? And I go outside, and it's a 2-story. You cannot see it from the street, but on the backside of the house is another chimney. But there's no fireplace attached to it. Took out the fireplace and didn't seal the chimney. So this water receptacle on the roof collecting all the water, and where's it going to go? Through the ceiling into the house. Now, we didn't catch that. We didn't see that. Our inspector didn't make a comment about it. I looked at the old plans. I go, there's the fireplace. Went to the city. I said, did they ever get a permit to remove the fireplace? They go, no, we didn't even know they did. But now what do I have? I got to remove a chimney. I got to re-roof. I got to repair. I got to make sure there's no mold. We didn't know that going in. Unexpected costs. So we just got to be prepared. We can't go to the edge of our checks, and then we have an unexpected cost, and now all of a sudden you go, we can't afford it. So that's the way I would look. And then the other caution I would make is that when interest rates go up, what we have a lot of is these banks that will come in with teaser rates. They're variable rate loans, and they'll say, hey, we'll give you your 3%. Okay. It's 3% for 2 years, 3 years, and then we adjust. So what happens is they qualify you on the affordability side at the 3%, but when it adjusts to 7 or 7.5%, you can't afford it. So you got this 2-year, 3-year, whatever they do, window. But it's this guillotine coming at you that they say, it's okay, you'll refinance when it comes time. So you don't have to worry about it. That's their game. But here's the problem. This is what got people in 2008. This is what got people recently, is that the problem with that is if you go to refinance and interest rates are still up, you're not going to get a better deal. 2, if values have gone down and you don't have equity enough in the home to refinance, they won't refinance for you, and they don't tell you that. So then you get stuck in something you can't afford, and it goes into foreclosure. So be careful of the teaser rates.
regarding condo house, like, does it matter? I know HOA rent, and it can go up, and I see a lot of us going really low prices because the rate is really high.
Hi.
Orange County, I see houses that are like 60,000 because the HOA rent.
So here's my qualitative caution on this. Before we moved here, we lived we had a townhome because we really weren't going to make it a primary residence. It was just a beach place, and we had a townhome. There's 52 units there. Okay. 49 of the people there were horrible. And we're living in proximity with them. And it was just, and then the other side of it was the HOA was mismanaged. So everyone was going to get hit with an assessment. Now, I didn't know this going in. I didn't look at it closely enough going in. Here's the challenge. If you are in a property where there is an HOA, you have to look at a few things. One, how well run is the HOA? What kind of reserves do they have? What are they doing about deferred maintenance that's common area that's going to get dumped on you guys as owners? Two, how many units are in the development that they spread the cost out over? 52 units wasn't enough. That meant that every unit bore, and we had a lot of costs because there wasn't enough units. In the community I live in now, there's an upper section and there's a lower section. Between both sections, there's 500 homes. Different game. Okay. Also, look at the history of HOA raises. Okay. I am a fan of HOAs to a point, but when they are intrusive, too overly reaching and too overly intrusive into your world, you will not be able to do anything. So just that's the caution around it, to be smart about doing anything that has to do with HOAs, and make sure that you're not getting hit with deferred maintenance that isn't there, that they're financially stable, and that they run things, effectively. So, because HOA fees are not deductible, so it's not a tax deduction. It's just money going away. Okay. And, but conceivably, if it's going towards the betterment of the community and the common areas and all of the amenities, that increases the value of the property. But you got to be aware of, we were in close proximity because it was a townhome, and everyone was up in everyone's business. And as much as I'm public this way, I'm a private person. Don't get in my business. And I'm not kind about it when you start to infringe on my privacy, or you try to dictate what we do in our own home. I'm done. And so it got being completely frank, when it got to the point that it affected my relationship with Stephanie, I said, we're out. And we said, we found this place, we bought this place, we kept that place for a year. I wanted to see what it would do. They didn't improve. The HOA was still a problem. I said, sell. So we sold it. I'm not, I like to keep real estate, but I did not want to be in a situation like that. So, yeah. You got it. Awesome. Let's see. I've got some things in the chat. Let me go to the chat and see what we've got. I used to think 100,000 was huge when I was growing up. It doesn't go very far these days. No, Chris Ann, it doesn't. But it's a good start. All right, let's see. So glad these chats are back. Yeah. How much income do you need in a business before you can start a 401k? How do you add a Roth component? So this is, hopefully I say this right, Lee Min. So here's the thing. you can do a solo 401k with one person. You can do it at any time. But if you're not going to be able to put much more than $7,000 in it, it doesn't make sense because you could do that in an IRA or a Roth IRA. So if you're going to be able, if right now 401k, you can put up to this year $23,000 a year in, or $30,500 if you're over 50 or over. So if you're looking to try and put more away, then we put a solo 401k in. A solo 401k is pretty easy, pretty cost effective to do because it's what they call a prototype plan. It's only one person and you put it in and you go from there. And that solo 401k, you can make sure what you do is that the document itself, you would want it to, if they can, you want it to have a Roth component to it. So you could contribute to the 401k under the Roth rules, avoid the income limits, and instead of being $7,000 you put away, you can actually put $23,000 away. But they would have to have that in the plan document when they set it up, which most of them these days, if they're new plans, they have it as an option for you to do that. The alternative is that if your income's not too high, you can contribute to the 401k and you can put money into a Roth. They're not mutually exclusive. So that's how I would look at it and do it that way. Kathy asks, do you recommend any business cards for points, miles, or whatever? I'm not the points guy, but let me tell you what I do. With ad spend, etc., I feel like I'm missing out on gobs of points by not running expenses through a card. All right. So Kathy, this one's for you. Most of my credit cards, I'm not saying all, most of my credit cards are personal cards used for business only. They're not, some of them are in the business name, some of them are not. The merchant rules for business cards are different than they are for personal. The protections on the personal cards are far greater. So that's why I did it. Having said that, I'll tell you the cards that I use. I get nothing for it. I'm not recommending them, but I'll tell you what I use and why I use them. I have a United Club card because I am a United snob. I've got almost 3 million miles on United. The club card gives me access to their club, and it gives me a lot of points. And it is their one card that will help me continue to qualify for my 1K status. And so that's what I use it for. So all my travel and any travel stuff goes on the United card. I have my Amazon card, and the only thing that goes on Amazon cards is Amazon purchases because of the cash back. So when I buy anything on Amazon, it's running through Amazon. Now, I do not, so let me be really clear. I do not mix personal and business. So the cards that I allocate for business are solely for business. So the Amazon card will not do any personal purchases. I'll do that on a personal card. Okay. I have a Fidelity card because all my portfolio of investments is at Fidelity, not my play investments that I do, my options and stuff, that's at Schwab. Okay. But the Fidelity card they actually give me cash back and invest it for me. So I use the Fidelity card for any big purchases, 10,000, 5,000. So big numbers, because I get a substantial percentage back and it goes right into my invested portfolio. Okay. I have a Chase Inc. preferred card. And the only thing I use that for is Facebook ads, because I get 3-to-1 on Facebook ads. And so that's the only thing I use that for. Now, and then I have one card that is a Marriott card that I'll use for Marriott, but I don't carry it. It sits in a drawer locked up, and it's where I have all of my subscriptions. So, and I did this because I one time lost my wallet. And I had to figure out what card each subscription was on so I could call them and do this. And this way, I put all my subscriptions on one card. I do not carry the card. And if God forbid I lose my wallet, because I'm getting older and absent-minded, you never know. And I've had a lot of head trauma, football, karate, I know that I don't have to worry about the subscriptions because that card is locked up. And all I got to do is the other cards that I carry, say, let me just get those replaced and make sure there's no fraudulent charges. And I don't have to go through every subscriptions and change it and all that stuff. So I have one card that's specifically for subscriptions. And that's pretty much all I carry. I don't do American Express. I haven't really done the analysis on it, but I don't know that I would get the benefits that I want out of the value of the benefits out of it. I don't know. So that's all I do. But here's the deal. If you're going to use cards, I do not carry any balances on cards. So using the card for purchases is fine. Points, whatever. But carrying a balance on a card is not, especially in rising interest rates. So whatever you do, if you're going to do something like that, then you do it smart. You pay it off every month and go from there. So hopefully that helps. Christine asks, thank you, Diana. Diane, yeah, just for subscriptions. I learned that the hard way. It was a pain in the butt. I got too many subscriptions. So just more of a comment as a creative, and in many of my creative groups, I hear about even when we know we are worth and ask for it, there are a lot of people who don't value our worth and refuse to pay it. I know that we need to find those who value us to work for paying for it. That's our struggle when it comes to trying to increase our income. Christine, I totally get that. That there are going to be those people that they don't value it, so they won't pay it, and that's fine. Here's my, and I've had people come to me, on the valuation side when they wanted to hire me, and then they got the proposal, say, oh, I can't afford that. Here's my response. I totally get it if the economics don't allow you to work with me right now. Just know that I'm here should you need someone at this level. And I walk away. I'm not tied to it, but I will not negotiate, because what I'm negotiating is not my fees. I'm negotiating my value, and I refuse to do that. Now, maybe I have the luxury of doing it by choice. Now, remember, early on, I didn't do that. Early on, I knew I needed to get the momentum. I knew I needed to buy. I needed to invest some time and do some things. So I had lowered the rates. But there comes a time, if you can't keep up with the work, you got to start ratcheting those rates up and allow the pricing, because pricing is actually positioning. Y'all, Motel 6, Ritz, Four Seasons, their pricing is positioning, not just their name. You will have to fish in a different pond over time. But there'll be a time where you're fishing in both ponds because you need the cash flow. But as you start to increase, you may have some people that are grandfathered. I got people, I only take on a handful of one-on-one clients. I got a couple of one-on-one clients that have been with me for years. I act as their family CFO. They're grandfathered into the price that they were at. Now, if they terminate and they start, they go to the current pricing. But I transitioned. I get it. But this is the thing that we need to do, is that as we start to value ourselves differently, we need to price ourselves differently, and we need to stand in the conviction of that value. And if we're going to adjust it for any reason, it has to be intentional from you and rationalize. So I'll give you for instance. My speaking fee to come and speak usually is $20,000 to $25,000. Have I done it for less? Yeah. In fact, I got a book coming out in June. So I reduced the speaking fee, but they're getting a bunch of books. So we can do those things, but it's intentional and it's strategic. It's not just some negotiation where I just allow myself to do that. So I know that I didn't give you an answer here, but I'm trying to get you to look at it and say, okay, intentionally, I'm going to accept this fee for a period of time or until I get busy enough. And when I get too busy, I'm going to start slowly ratcheting my fees up. And over time, you're transitioning from one pond to the next. Missy says, quality of life and fulfillment may not be good financially, but health and well-being are addressed. You have a connection with nature right outside your door. We have to take care of ourselves as well as our finances. Missy, truer words were never spoken. Many of you know that in 2019, they found what they thought was a 5-centimeter tumor in my bladder. It turned out to be 7.5 centimeters. I was at risk of losing the prostate, impact on the kidney, losing my bladder, losing my life. We didn't know. Okay. I found myself in that position, quite frankly, and that it wouldn't have prevented it, but it would have prevented it from getting to 7.5 centimeters and to the degree it was. I found that myself in that position because we had moved down to the beach area 7 years earlier, which meant that I hadn't seen a doctor in 7 years, which meant that I didn't go and get a checkup or any tests because I didn't have any doctors down here. But I wasn't feeling bad. I was feeling good. I was vibrant. I was having fun. I felt healthy until, TMI, I saw blood in the urine. All right, this might be something wrong. And I bring it up only because I thought to myself, dang it, had I gone in for physicals like I did before moving every year, they might have caught it before it got to 7.5 centimeters. It may not have stopped it, but it wouldn't have gotten to the point where my life, my bladder, and everything was in jeopardy. And I had to really reflect on the fact that I was checking the pulse on my finances more often than I was checking the pulse on me. And I think that we need to look at our life. We need to look at our health. We need to look at the quality of life. We need to understand what brings us joy, what brings us fulfillment, and allow the financial plan to be the support of that and not the other way around. When you get a chance to read my book, when it comes out in June, you will see that it is part life philosophy and financial tactics and strategies to support that. I don't think that you can separate your finances. I don't think that you can separate your finances and your money from your life. When we do, that's when we go wrong. When we do, it's when we end up with big accounts, big bank accounts, but a bankrupt life. And that's the thing that I want everyone to avoid. The thing that tormented me when I got diagnosed with the cancer was not the fear of the cancer, the fear of dying. It was the love I had for life and the fact that I said, I got so much more in me. And I think that we all need to be living it fully each day, no matter what the circumstances are, to be able to put our head on the pillow and go, hey, I lived it fully. Because you just don't know when your ticket's going to get pulled. I figured I had plenty of years, and all of a sudden they're looking at me going, hey, we don't know. We got to go, you're going to go through treatments. You're going to go through surgeries. The whole idea that our time here is finite became real. And I think that we need to live it. I don't think we need to save it. We need to save the money. We need to invest the money to give us the choice and do all those things. But as far as living life fully, God, we got to just give it everything every day. Oh, I agree with you, Missy. All right. It's an amazing session. Thank you, Rosha. I like that response. All right. Let me see. Property taxes went up 11.4%. Oh, God. Yeah. So, all right. Man, we've been going like an hour and 15 minutes. Look at that. All right. Well, See, remember what I said. This is I see another question coming. I'll get to it. This is something that I am testing out to maybe do a regular weekly show. So your response to me, your engagement, you coming on Zoom, doing these things is really important in that journey. I've got it booked in. You can add it to your calendars. We'll do this weekly starting on Mondays, not next Monday, but the Monday after. And I'm going to just do it weekly and we'll see how it goes. But the hopes is that it allows us the opportunity to turn this into a regular live show. So, all right. So let me see. I saw a question come in. I think you said no to this, but do you have recommended accountants? No, Kathy, I really don't. Here's the problem. Accountants are their worst freaking enemies. If there's any accountants out there listening, listen to this. Get your stuff together. I get that you want to tick and tie and do tax returns, but you know what? There's people on the other side of that. And they deserve a return phone call. They deserve the response, and they deserve you to look out the windshield and say, hey, let me help guide you versus telling them where they've been. The problem with most accountants is that they're built from the frame of history and not the future. They are willing to scribe what you did, but you already know what you did. You know, if it was good, you felt good. If it was bad, you know it because you're having a problem paying bills. What they really need to do is say, here's the successes. Here's how to do more of the successes in the future. Here's the problems. Here's how we avoid them in the future, to consult you so you can grow. And most accountants don't do that. The other side of it is, so in the book I give it, and in some of my training I give it, and I actually did an episode on this with on my show on what to look for in an accountant and how to interview them. But I don't have, at this point, I don't have recommendations. The hopes is that I create a resource page with vetted accountants, advisors, and attorneys on it that I can say, I feel comfortable with them. But right now, they're not easy to find. So sorry, I don't have an answer for you on that, Kathy. Shy, I'm glad you love these sessions. You always make me cry when I hear your story. I'm sorry, Missy. Sorry. Had to fire mine. He didn't want to ask. He didn't want to be asked questions. See, look, oh my God, your advisors, attorneys, advisors, financial advisors, CPAs, they're there to educate you. This is the problem. It's one of the reasons I want to do the show. So, no. Awesome. All right. So here's the deal. We have another one of these in just over a week, on Monday, I think the 26th. If you go, if you're on Instagram, type in mentoring, reply, comment mentoring, and we'll make sure we get you the registration link. So you can register and be on the Zoom call so I can bring you on live. And also let's grow it. Let's get more people on so we can have more conversations and have real conversations around money that matter. Remember what I said. I mean, I truly believe your financial freedom, it's your birthright. And I think we just got to go claim it. And if I can have anything to do with it, that's what I'm going to help you do. Is I'm going to try and guide you as best as possible. I got no investments to sell you. I got no insurance to sell you. There's none of this stuff going on. This is about just us having a frank conversation. If I think that they're taking you down the wrong path, I'm going to tell you. Or I'm going to give you the hard questions to ask them and go from there. So, y'all, I appreciate you being here. This is fun for me. It's a blessing for me. For those of you that don't know, I've come back from the cancer, and what made it make sense was me coming back to serve. And so, I'm free from the cancer now 3.5 years, but the thing that gave it meaning is me looking at it and saying, because I was trying to figure out why I got the cancer and trying to find something or someone to blame. Couldn't find it. And someone said to me, well, what happens if it wasn't because of something you did, but it's because of something you're meant to do? Now the cancer became valuable. whatever the circumstances you're in, whatever the circumstances you've had in the past, maybe it was because it was to position you, train you, or posture you for what you're meant to do, your calling, your gift. And that's what came out of it. That's why I'm doing this. It's why I wrote the book. It's why I'm speaking and doing the things, because I could retire sitting on the beach right now, and I don't want to. I'd rather see your faces. I'd rather see your dreams come alive. And so if I have any little bit of contribution to it, then the gift is to me, not to you. So I appreciate y'all. You guys have an incredible day, incredible weekend, and I'll see you on the next Money Mentoring. And in the meantime, if you have questions or anything, ping me, DM me, and we'll bring it on the next show, or go to askmelnow.com. We'll get it all dialed in. All right? You keep rocking, and know that you're not in this journey alone. Right? And until we see each other again, always try to live a life that outlives you. Cheers.